Imagine orchestrating your own public execution. Like, you actually invite your absolute worst enemy to hold the axe, and then you monetize the blood splatter.
Right.
That is exactly what happened on live television on the night of May 10th, 2026.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that the entertainment industry usually operates like this highly secure fortress, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Public appearances are totally sanitized, publicists vet every single joke, and danger is, well, it's completely simulated. But on this particular night, the fortress walls didn't just come down, they were intentionally blown open from the inside.
Right. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are really thrilled you're joining us because we got our hands on a truly compelling YouTube transcript from the channel Rap Time.
It's a great source.
It really is. They dissected the unscripted chaos that hijacked the 2026 Netflix roast of Kevin Hart. So our mission today is to decode this whole thing. We are tracing the anatomy of this massive, decade-long feud in the comedy world between Katt Williams and Kevin Hart.
And we're going to use that specific feud to explore the underlying mechanics of Hollywood stardom. Like, we want to look at how the currency of authenticity operates.
Yeah.
And most importantly, how public narratives are controlled, lost, and ultimately weaponized.
Exactly. And honestly, whether you follow stand-up comedy religiously or you literally couldn't care less about it, stick with us, because for you, as someone who likes to learn how things work, this is a brilliant case study in how reputations are built and destroyed in real time.
A masterclass, really.
Yeah. If you love uncovering the why behind major cultural explosions, you are in the right place. So to understand the sheer shock value of this feud, we really need to set the scene of the inciting incident. Let me paint the picture for you.
Go for it.
It's May 10th, 2026. The Kia Forum in Inglewood, California. Netflix is a joke fest. Sheen Gillis is hosting. The stage, specifically the main dais where all the celebrity guests are seated, is just absolutely packed.
The visual is so important here. I mean, you have Tom Brady walking out to present Hart with a custom Knicks jersey. You have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Serena Williams, Lizzo, Chelsea Handler, Pete Davidson, Draymond Green. I mean, Usher is literally on stage singing a rendition of "Let It Burn," dedicated to Kevin.
It's wild. Yeah. It is the absolute pinnacle of the Hollywood establishment gathering to protect and celebrate one of their most lucrative assets.
Exactly.
And for over 2 hours, Kevin takes every punch. He laughs, he plays the perfect host. But then actress Regina Hall steps up to the microphone and introduces a surprise guest.
And the room just shifts.
The room goes dead quiet and then just erupts. Walking out onto that stage wearing a black hat and a long black leather cape is Katt Williams.
Yep.
The 54-year-old comedian who had spent the last 12 years calling Kevin Hart a complete and utter fraud.
And the moment he takes the microphone, he just bypasses the traditional roast format entirely.
He didn't even try to play along.
No, not at all. His opening line to Hart was, and I quote, "I'm surprised they invited me. That's how little star power you have. They had to start inviting your enemies." And then he immediately turned to the camera, addressing the audience at home, and said, "You're wondering, why is the Cat Man doing this for the money? This is my Riyadh Comedy Festival, only one with a soul."
Which, I mean, that was such a specific, calculated shot.
It was. And to provide the objective context for that insult, Katt was referencing Hart's participation in the 2025 Saudi Arabian government-sponsored comedy festival.
Right.
Now, that particular festival drew significant criticism from organizations like Human Rights Watch. They pointed to the country's suppression of free speech.
And just to interject for you listening, we're obviously not taking any stance on that controversy itself. We're just impartially reporting the facts of the source material.
Exactly. We remain completely neutral on the politics. But we have to recognize the tactical move here. Katt basically weaponized a very specific global political criticism to attack Hart's moral compass live right to his face.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is the part that literally breaks my brain. Jeff Ross, the Roastmaster General himself, later confirmed that bringing Katt Williams out was Kevin Hart's idea.
Which is crazy to think about.
Hart orchestrated this. It's like a casino intentionally letting a notorious card counter play at the high-stakes table, or inviting an iceberg to the maiden voyage of the Titanic.
That's a great way to put it.
You want the crowd to see the tension, sure, but you only do it if you secretly control the odds. Why on earth would Hart purposefully invite a man who clearly came to wage war?
Well, it really comes down to the mechanics of manufactured danger in the streaming era.
Okay, explain that.
Hart understands the medium of live television better than almost anyone. In an era where media is aggressively sanitized and heavily edited, genuine discomfort is basically the only thing that makes live TV compelling anymore.
That makes sense.
Hart wanted that danger to keep the audience glued to the screen. He needed the threat of things going off the rails. The problem was, Katt Williams didn't just provide the threat of danger, he delivered an actual tactical strike.
Right. And to figure out why Katt was so incredibly vicious on that stage, we have to rewind the clock. We are going back to 2014 to find the root of this resentment.
Yeah, if you look at the comedy landscape a decade earlier, both of these men occupied the exact same lane.
Very true.
They were short, high-energy, black comedians who commanded arenas with intense physicality and volume.
But Katt was the original in that specific lane.
Yeah.
That was his brand. He was the guy making the big faces, overacting on stage in the best way possible.
Exactly.
So when Kevin Hart comes along, the comparisons just start immediately. But Kevin had a completely different operating system, didn't he?
Completely different. He had an absolute bottomless appetite for Hollywood integration.
Yes.
We have to look at how the studio system functions. In the 2010s, Hollywood studios were desperately looking for bankable, high-energy comedic leads to anchor mid-budget comedies.
Right. The algorithm needed feeding.
Exactly. Hart recognized this algorithmic need and became a highly reliable product. He said yes to everything. While Katt claimed he was choosing projects based on, quote, artistic integrity, Hart was just building an empire.
He was stacking massive blockbusters. I mean,
Yeah.
Ride Along, Think Like a Man, Central Intelligence, Jumanji.
Huge hits.
The numbers were undeniable.
Yeah.
And watching someone he viewed as a derivative talent explode into a global megastar was something Katt just couldn't stomach quietly.
No, he couldn't.
So the first public shots were fired in August 2014. TMZ Sports caught up with Katt and asked him who he thought was the funniest athlete.
Such a random question.
Right. But Katt pivoted that completely unrelated question into a direct attack on Hart, saying, "I want my bitch back."
Wow.
He framed Kevin like a rogue protege who had been stolen from him.
And it escalated from there. By 2016, during his comedy tour in Atlanta, Katt crossed a foundational line. He officially labeled Kevin Hart a Hollywood puppet.
See, I have to push back on Katt's logic here for a second.
Okay, what do you mean?
If you are an artist and you purposefully turn down huge studio projects because of your quote-unquote integrity, how can you be furious when someone else says yes and becomes a megastar? Like you made your choice, you opted out of the machine.
Logically, you are completely right. It doesn't track. But this requires understanding the psychology of stand-up comedy. In that specific ecosystem, the word puppet carries devastating weight.
Because of the culture of stand-up.
Exactly. Stand-up is built on the premise of the lone truth teller with a microphone. Authenticity is their ultimate currency.
Oh, I see.
To imply that a comedian's career is manufactured, that powerful executives in Hollywood are actually pulling their strings, that strips the comedian of their agency and their talent in a single word. It suggests their success is totally artificial.
That makes a lot of sense. So Kevin's response at the time was pretty subtle. He posted a photo of himself with Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle.
A classic power move.
Right. He was essentially telling his audience, true professionals build each other up. He was placing himself in the legends category and leaving Katt out in the cold.
It was passive-aggressive, sure, and it could have ended there.
But it didn't. The passive aggression hit a breaking point in 2018.
Yeah. Katt decided to shift tactics. He dragged an innocent third party into the blaze.
Creating collateral damage.
Exactly. Collateral damage designed specifically to force Hart's hand.
So, September 2018, Katt goes on V103's Frank and Wanda radio show in Atlanta, and he decides to attack Tiffany Haddish.
Which was huge news at the time.
It was. Haddish had just come off a massive career-making year with the movie Girls Trip. And Katt claims she hasn't proven herself, hasn't demonstrated the ability to do a one-hour stand-up set. He is openly attacking her credentials.
And why her?
Because Tiffany Haddish was Kevin Hart's co-star in his upcoming film, Night School.
It was such a strategic provocation. Because Hart was mid-press run for Night School at that exact moment.
Right, he's doing interviews constantly.
He had cameras and microphones in his face every single day. Katt knew Hart would have to defend his co-star, and he did. Hart went on Power 105.1's The Breakfast Club and finally took the gloves off.
Oh man, on The Breakfast Club, Hart looked right into the camera and addressed Katt directly. He said, "You had the shot. You were the guy. You did not show up to work."
Oh.
He called out Katt for blaming the industry instead of taking personal responsibility. And then he asked if Katt had ever used his platform to mentor younger comics, answering his own question with a flat no.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. I look at Kevin Hart's Breakfast Club interview like an architectural teardown.
How so?
He didn't just go on the radio and hurl petty insults. He brought out the structural blueprints of Katt's failures and laid them out for the public to scrutinize.
That's a perfect analogy. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Hart weaponized Katt's rap sheet to dismantle his credibility.
And it was a long rap sheet.
Yeah. The sources note 19 felony charges, with internet reports suggesting 17 arrests, and Katt himself later claiming he had been to jail 30 times.
30 times.
But it's not just the number of arrests, it's how they function narratively. Think about how a Hollywood PR crisis team handles a spiraling star.
They panic.
Right. They need to insure these actors for multi-million-dollar film productions.
And Katt was entirely uninsurable. Let's look at the specifics of that rap sheet. November 2006, he's arrested at LAX with a reported stolen gun in his briefcase.
Insane.
In 2010, he's accused of stealing $3,500 worth of coins and jewelry on a film set.
Just bizarre.
And then there is the late 2012 stretch. Over the course of 2 months, Katt is arrested 5 times.
5 arrests in 2 months.
The charges include allegedly hitting an 18-year-old with a bottle on a tour bus, child endangerment after guns and drugs were found at his home.
And the chase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leading Sacramento police on a chase on a 3-wheel motorcycle and jumping off a stage in Denver to physically fight a heckler.
So Hart took all of that and posed a brutally simple, logical question to the public. He basically asked, why should you listen to a grand cultural critique about the entertainment industry from a man who cannot navigate his own life or stay out of a jail cell?
A very fair question.
Hart revealed that Katt wasn't turning down blockbusters for content reasons. He was being rejected by the studio system because he was a massive liability.
Wow.
By the end of 2018, the industry had largely written Katt Williams off completely.
So think about this for a second. If a comedian is entirely written off by the industry in 2018, how does he execute a global comeback 6 years later?
He changes the narrative.
He changes it completely. He finds a new platform. January 3rd, 2024. Katt Williams sits down with Shannon Sharpe on the Club Shay Shay podcast.
And this was the day the internet broke.
Literally broke. The interview pulls over 40 million views. Katt doesn't just casually chat. He arrives with an encyclopedic memory of grievances.
Oh yeah, he had dates, names, receipts.
And he drops the ultimate accusation. He calls Kevin Hart an industry plant.
And he lays out his evidence methodically, right? He claims no one in Hollywood remembers a sold-out Kevin Hart show before his arrival in Los Angeles.
Right.
He points out that Hart landed his own network sitcom and the lead in the movie Soul Plane within his very first year in LA, which is an unheard of trajectory for a new comic.
Definitely suspicious if true.
And then he claims that for 5 years, every single movie Kevin Hart starred in had actually been offered to Katt first, and Katt had passed on them.
He threw everything at the wall. I mean, Illuminati, Diddy parties, joke theft. It was a panoramic takedown of the entire comedy establishment.
It really was.
But if you're listening to this and wondering why Kevin didn't just fire back with a massive lawsuit or an angry rant video, you really have to look at his PR strategy.
Well, first we need to unpack the devastating power of the industry plant label, especially in 2024.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
In American culture, our most sacred mythology is the self-made man.
A hustle.
Right. We love the narrative of someone grinding it out, sleeping in their car, earning their success against all odds. Katt tapped into a growing cultural mistrust of institutions. If his accusation was true, if Hart's deals were prearranged, if the industry anointed him before he proved himself, it destroys Hart's foundational narrative. It implies everything you admire about his work ethic is an illusion.
And this is where Hart executed what I can only describe as PR judo.
PR judo. I love that.
Yeah, because in judo, you don't meet force with force, right? You use your opponent's forward momentum against them.
Exactly.
Katt generated 40 million views of forward momentum. So what does Hart do? He gives Fox 5 a simple, dismissive 7-word statement. You don't entertain the circus, you watch it.
Cold.
Then he takes to X formally. Twitter grabs all those millions of eyeballs and throws that momentum directly toward his new Netflix film, Lift.
So smart.
He tells Katt, gotta get that anger up out your champ, it's honestly sad, and links his movie. He deflects the substance entirely and turns the attack into free global marketing.
It was incredibly strategic. However, it didn't stop the momentum Katt had built with the public.
True.
That podcast completely transformed Katt's image. He was no longer the troubled comic with a rap sheet. The internet crowned him a whistleblower.
Like a rogue truth teller.
Exactly, a guy willing to risk his career to expose the dark underbelly of Hollywood. That narrative shift directly resulted in his massive May 2024 live Netflix special, Woke Folk.
So if Katt Williams successfully convinced 40 million people that Kevin Hart was a corporate fraud, how does the Hollywood machine absorb that blow?
Well, they put it on live television and monetize it.
Exactly, which brings us right back to 2026, the Kia Forum. Katt is standing there in that leather cape, performing a surgical strike on Hart's reputation.
And he reiterated the narrative he built on the podcast, but this time to Hart's face.
Right.
He told the crowd, privately, this mother of war stole everything from me before he saw my act. He was a 6-foot man. He told the audience he kept trying to bury Hart, but Hart kept springing back up, quote, just like a plant.
He didn't even spare the network paying for the event.
No, he didn't.
He looked at the executives and joked that the head of Netflix literally had his whole hand up Kevin's ass and could make him do anything. It was a reaffirmation of the puppet accusation broadcast globally.
Live.
And Hart takes it. He watches a man dismantle his life's work, and he doesn't flinch. Then Hart takes the mic and offers an olive branch.
What did he say?
He says, I can sip, I can watch you, I can laugh because I'm a Thing fan first. He suggests they put the beef behind them right there on live television. I want to move on. Can we move on?
And Katt's physical response reveals a lot about the actual dynamics at play here.
Because Katt stays completely silent.
Yep.
He shakes Kevin's hand, hugs him, and walks off the stage. He notably skips the traditional roast sign-off, where the roaster assures the subject, I do this because I love you.
Very telling.
There was no warmth, just brutal comedy, a handshake, and an exit. And the second Katt was out of sight, Hart pivoted.
Oh, yeah. During his closing set, Hart systematically dismantled the specific claims Katt made on the podcast regarding those movie roles.
The contrast he drew was devastating. Hart starts listing the blockbusters. You're telling me you turned down Jumanji 1, 2, 3, Ride Along 1 and 2, Central Intelligence, Think Like a Man 2, The Upside, About Last Night, Me Time, Borderlands, so you could do a cameo in Norbit?
Just laying it all out.
He literally asked Katt, you think they want a Fing Pimp in Jumanji?
Wow.
The crowd lost their minds. But then Hart grounds the room. He concludes by saying it's not good for the world to see two black men fighting, that they are too small as a community to keep this beef going. He declares the feud over.
Which raises an important question for you listening, especially when we look at the final piece of evidence from the sources.
Yeah, because sometime after the roast, Kevin Hart went on Carmelo Anthony's 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast. So what does this all mean? We know 13.5 million people watched this roast in a single week.
Astronomical numbers.
But as you look at that handshake, that silent hug, was this genuine healing between two comedy titans? Or was this a cynical, highly choreographed PR stunt?
Well, Hart admitted on Carmelo's podcast that the live handshake on stage was, quote, pure performance.
Pure performance.
He revealed that he and Katt had actually spoken privately and started moving toward a better place before the roast ever happened.
Wow.
The surprise ambush wasn't a surprise to them emotionally. It highlights a fundamental truth about the entertainment industry. It inherently rewards division over peace.
Always.
Conflict generates attention, clicks, and revenue much faster than resolution ever will. They understood that the public needed to see the war on stage to actually buy into the piece.
It is wild to trace this entire journey. I mean, we've gone from a passive-aggressive comment in a 2014 TMZ interview to a bitter war of words on morning radio in 2018 to a viral podcast nuclear bomb in 2024, all culminating in a choreographed, high-stakes truce on live television in 2026.
It's unbelievable.
It truly showcases the mechanics of industry survival and narrative warfare. I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's been an incredible ride unpacking this with you.
It really has. But as we close, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
If the entertainment industry truly rewards conflict because it generates more attention and money than peace ever will, are the biggest, most toxic rivalries in our culture actually just highly lucrative, codependent business partnerships